I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the School District of Waukesha, full Board of Education special board meeting tonight on Tuesday, October 26, 2021. Will you please take the roll call, Sue?
William Baumgart.
Here.
Corey Montiel. Greg Dietz.
Here.
Amanda Roddy.
Here.
Kelly Piasek.
Here.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Karen Reinacek.
Here.
Joseph Como.
Here. And Mr. Montillo is excused, Sue. And Sue, have we been properly posted with the media?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you. And we do have a couple pieces of business tonight, and we're going to start off with the approval of the 2021-2022 budget, which we have been working on for a very long time. We basically work on this throughout the entire year, and we'll begin on the following year after we pass this one right away. So I'm going to pass it off to the chair of the Finance and Facilities Committee, Mr. McCaffrey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move approval.
No, I'm sorry.
What?
Darren, do you have some?
I have a quick highlight slide deck, if you guys just want to walk through it really quick.
Sure.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, that's
Mr. Chairman?
fine.
Okay.
As Joe mentioned, we've been working on this since last
Sorry,
November,
That's right.
and this is the conclusion. We'll start, actually, we've started talking about next year already, but I just wanted to hit on some, couple of keynotes. Here's our budget by fund, in the total expenditures is $204,111 or $11,187, and then revenues are $201,404,314. But this is the breakout, and I'm just going to touch on the funds that are in yellow. The other ones are pretty standard in terms of what the activity in this fiscal year is going to be. So, first of all, the operational fund is, we are budgeting a deficit budget, but there's a reasoning behind that. Total revenues is $152 million, and then total expenditures is $153.6 million. And that variance in what we're allocating for the use of fund balance is two parts. Site carryover. Our schools are allowed to carry over from one fiscal year to the next any unspent dollars, unless there's some special areas we don't allow it. But and that amount rolled into fund balance at the end of last fiscal year. Then we reassigned it in this final budget process. Every year we've done that for goes back to early 2000s, I think. And then earlier, we had discussed, and was part of our preliminary budget, the use of $739,000 for one-time textbook adoption. So that's why there's that negative position if you look at total revenues versus total expenditures. For projection purposes, we'll be basing it off of the $152 million or the revenue budget, because these are both one-time items. In terms of the difference in comparing year to year, the total revenue budget for Fund 10 increased only $56,000 or 0.04%. But again, last year we had some COVID response money in there, so it kind of skews the comparison from year to year. But in terms of what is actually happening and what the document represents, it's only a $56,000 increase on $150 and some million budget. Expenditures are projected to decrease by $343,000 or almost 0.25%. Again, not a huge shift, but smaller than what was budgeted last year. This budget is in full compliance with state of Wisconsin revenue limit legislation. We are capped, not by how much we can spend, but how much we can generate in revenue, which often leads to how much you can spend. And then finally, just a reminder to the board, and we have gotten some questions from different groups about the COVID response funds. ESSER 1 was the initial response to COVID. It was tracers and all the things that we did, cleaning and all the mitigation efforts that we did going back to 2020. But ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, there's nothing budgeted in the document as it stands today. We're going to be discussing those at our workshop next week, and then making a multi-year plan on how we're going to address those funds. And as that happens, we'll be rolling out budget adjustments so the document will move as these decisions are made. So I think it's important for people to know where those dollars are, because it is a sizable amount of money. Some other fund highlights, Fund 39, we are continuing with our planned defeasances to prepay the referendum debt. This will be our third year of doing that. And then on the proceed sides of the referendum, the proceeds we got from the loan or the bond issue that we did, we will be expending all proceeds from the 2018 referendum and completing all projects during this fiscal year. So those line items in the budget or funds, they'll still be representing because we show the history, a couple years of history always, but the functionality of the expenditures of the proceeds. This will be the last year that you will be asked to approve a budget for those funds. I'll just roll into the tax levy. You know, it's two motions. I'll just roll into it all as one. The total tax levy will decline by $214,784, or about 1/4% from the previous year. The tax rate will decline by 53 cents down to $7.50. I believe that'll make us the second lowest tax rate in the county. Usually Mugwanago is the one that we're neck and neck with, but Muskego actually had a huge property valuation increase, and my guess is they have flat to slightly declining enrollment, so that property per student factor, they went down to 715. I don't have their certified numbers, I only have what we kind of shared in a Google Doc. And then we had a very good property valuation year with the EAV coming in for the entire district, meaning all the municipalities and the parts of the municipalities that we serve went up nearly 7%. And that's what drove, we have flat revenue limit authority. It didn't increase, but we have a larger tax base and more tax base behind every student to bring about that significant drop in the tax rate this year. So again, the levy went down, the total levy, which is I think the truest form of taxation, but also in some circumstances the rates, an important variable. So these are the numbers, and this is on page 4 of your budget booklet, in the different levies that we have in there. So tonight we're asking for the culmination of all these. It's on the agenda: the operational tax levy, the debt service, community service, capital expansion, all rolled up to give us the total amount. And again, the tax rate went down a significant amount, and more than we had projected, because we were at $8 for the preliminary budget. And then just things to consider. Some are accomplishments, some are challenges, some are things that we need to talk about moving forward. Last year we paid off the Fund 38 energy efficiency projects, which the board entered into, I think it was the 14-15 school year. That debt has been completely paid off. We've seen continued growth in choice program participation, whether it's independent charter schools, the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program, special needs scholarship program, thank you. Those things, so that's something I'm going to bring back at November's F&F meeting, really walk through the revenue limit and look at some of these topics that if you know where to look, it'll show you the trend, and then we can talk about how we respond to that or what control over it we really have. The tax rate itself is the lowest in at least 25 years. I think it could be the lowest in 40 years or a long time. Summer school enrollment bounced back nicely in 2021, which we went back to a regular summer school program, so that was nice to see. Didn't get back to where we were, but we had built it to be the highest it had ever been, and then COVID hit, significant drop, and now we fought the way, the majority of the way back. We've talked a lot about enrollment, and you probably get tired of me talking about that, but we had our continued declining third Friday count again this year. As I mentioned before, we are continuing to defease our referendum debt, but we are on pace to pay off the debt completely in 6 years. This is the third year of those 6 years, not 6 years from today. And that amount is $60 million, which is, I think, pretty rare for a school district to accomplish. And then lastly, it seems so long since the referendum process occurred, but I wanted to remind the board, in 2018, building security was a huge issue. Right. It was really a driving topic, not to mention the renovations of the middle schools and the addition itself, but all the work is substantially complete. We still have some HVAC work that we're doing this fall, but we have added 18 new structurally secure entrances to our schools. A couple of our schools had secure entrances prior to the referendum. So I think that's an accomplishment to an issue that's still out there that we haven't talked about much lately, but I think it's a giant leap from where we were a few years ago. So in total, we're looking for approval of the final budget and tax levy so we can get to work on next year's budget next month.
Any questions on who Mr. Clark presented? I know we've been at this for a long time, and we all have the numbers memorized, right? Okay, Pat, now I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move approval of the 2021-2022 operational capital expansion, community service, and debt service tax levy in the amount of $88,104,370.
I'm sorry, Sue?
That's the second item, and you do the approval of the budget first.
Want to do the total budget first? So it's not.
Oh, okay. Sure. Sorry, we'll start with the tax levy, Mr. McCaffrey.
Okay. Alrighty, I move approval of the 2021-2022 final budget totaling $201,404,314 in total revenue and $11,187 in total expenditures.
Is there a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Baumgart. Discussion? Okay, Sue, please take the roll call vote.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek. Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0. Mr. McCaffrey?
I move to approve the 2021-2022 operational capital expansion, community service, and debt service levy in the amount of $88,104,370.
Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Dietz. Discussion? Okay, Sue, please take the roll call vote.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek. William Baumgart.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0. Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey. Appreciate those motions. And Sue, appreciate you correcting us as which one should be coming first, because I did not say it would be switched around, or neither did my fellow board members. So I appreciate that, because I'd probably be fined $25. Okay. Now, we do have a need to go into executive session. Would I happen to have someone to make a motion for that? Ms. Roddy?
I move we adjourn to executive session for Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And G, to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Subpoint A, continuing? Okay. The board shall convene to discuss litigation related to COVID mitigation measures and to discuss potential legal and other actions related to a possible defamation action.
Is there a second to that motion? Second by Dr. Piasek. And will you please take the roll call vote, Sue?
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek. Karen Reinacek. Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0. We will go into closed session immediately. There may be an open session after this, but it's probably going to be a couple hours. We don't know if we will reconvene into open session, though, so. Thank you, everybody.